then at
Yeah.
the end of the day, what we learn is we can only help those who can help themselves. We can't help everybody. We want to save a million, we want to help a million people, but then it's not that easy, it's not that simple, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, what we think they need may not be what they actually
Mhm.
need.
Yeah.
So we need to talk to the people, ask
Yeah.
them, and then based on that, we kind of learn what they need and we just follow what they need. And the way we give is not like boom, giving it all out. It's not, it doesn't work that way. I mean, there's one of the learning that's a huge learning during tsunami. After the tsunami, we work with Prince Albert from Monaco. We rebuilt the entire village of 250 houses. We replaced they were living on the coastal line, so we acquire a piece of land on the bit of a hill. So they got new land, new house, new everything. But oh boy, yeah, there was a struggle of the whole development, and then Prince Albert himself came to appreciate it, and there was a whole drama, you know, trying to prepare, the
Yeah.
people, and then just sometimes it's very hard that this is exactly what the Bible, the lepers, the 10 lepers got healed, only one actually came back. In
Mhm.
our, yeah, in our experience, not even one, maybe half, maybe one third would actually say thank you or be grateful in the way that we. So I learned that giving is not horizontal. If we are expecting them to behave the way that we want them to behave, you get disappointed. But what is important is that you have fulfilled what you are here to do for God's glory. It's vertical. It's between you and God. It's a worship, right?
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Up Next. Today, I get a chance to talk with someone who I've known before, but this is the first time we've ever gotten a chance to do this interview. Veronica Colondam, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Tommy.
Yeah, Veronica, for yourself, a lot of times, for those who may not know who you are and what you do, talk a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about Veronica today.
Okay, so well, I kind of classify myself as a social entrepreneur, but I'm not sure if that's the right term now because we evolve through times, right? And in terms of what I do, but because what I am, I'm more towards, I've been Christians, some all my life, I guess, but I encounter, uh, I guess, my own uh, choice. And I was in Bible camp. That was fifth grade. How old was I? 1983. So that's 11. I was 11, I guess, 11 or 12 years old. So that's that from the spiritual side. But me myself, I'm a mother of three grown kids and about to be a glamma in 2 months. So yeah, I have three children, a boy, girl, and boy. 30 years old, 28, and 24. And the organization, that YCAP, is actually somewhere between my second and third child. So I actually have four children, three biological, one organizational, and YCAP is 26 years old. So
Yeah,
30,
yeah,
28,
yeah.
26, and 24. Perfect.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the one thing I love to talk a little bit about Whitecap. But before we do, I'm looking at the back of your book here.
Okay.
Veronica, not only are you the founder and chief executive officer of YCAP, but at the same time, some of the things on your book, it says you were named among Global Asia's most powerful women in Indonesia. You were on Forbes' 10 most inspiring women in Indonesia. You were one of Asia's 48 top philanthropists, Ernst& Young Social Entrepreneur of the Year, one of the UN Social Makers in 2017, and also Asia's Change Maker in 2009. When I share all these different things about you. Man, there's just so much to brag about you about. But what is the one thing that you're proud of what you've been able to accomplish all these years?
From the work front or from the family front, because they're different. They're both as important.
Yeah, let's talk about the work front.
The work front, I guess to started something like 1999. That's right after the Asian crisis, and having that sense of urgency. There's something we could do, more. And of course, that has something to do with my spiritual conviction that you are called to do something for the kingdom of God. So that's very clear to me. The what part was YCAP, but the struggle to, before we set up YCAP came when I was having my 26th birthday. And then at that point of time, there was a pastor, Royandi Hutasoit. He's a doctor. He still is a head of a hospital, Christian hospital in Indonesia, still is very active, although he's quite old now, like maybe 75, 76 years old. But he said something about meaning and purpose that
Yeah,
really triggered me into this whole imbalance of, I was married with two young kids, but then I was thinking, is that it really?
yeah,
Like, God has given you so much that you need to kind of pay it back, right? It wasn't even, I didn't even put it in that word, but that's restlessness, that feeling of not fulfilling your, calling. There was down on me when I was in that actually moment of my 26th birthday. So that was the moment that threw me into a maybe 15, 18 months of struggle to really realizing what the calling to. It was a abstract concept, right? You need to put that into a something tangible, something that real. So YCAP was born, I guess, not I was 20, I was 27 already, or 28 at that point of time. Yeah, and then now 26 years later, wow, 26
yeah,
years later, I'm still doing it. And I felt like time has gone by so very fast. It wasn't even a thing, like I didn't feel that it's gone so long, but it felt like it was just yesterday that we set up everything. And then, of course, we evolved through time, and grateful for all these things that we have done, things that we stopped doing, things that we learn, how the COVID, the pandemic also brings clarity to the kind of things that we can do. And we're moving the organization from doing things well, good to well, and well to great. So we are in that kind of uh, point of time. Yeah, it's an evolution. It's a long time. I mean, young people will not be interested to hear about 25 years later, really. They want to know what's the next year, 2 years, 5 years, but you can learn from us, the yeah, people who've been on the ground for so long, and to just, bypass time. That's what you need. You learn from the older generation how to not do what we did before, but do it better.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Veronica, a lot of times that's really what I'm hoping that this podcast will really be able to talk about. A lot of times we talk about this whole idea of journey is reflecting. Too often we're always looking ahead, but how do we begin to reflect and see how the Lord has been working in our lives? Talking
Yeah.
about YCAP a lot of times for those who may not understand or know be familiar with YCAP, what does it do? Well, why start YCAP?
So let's start with the name. YCAP is abbreviation for Yayasan. Yayasan means foundation. The word C is Cinta, which is love. And AB, Anak Bangsa, the children of nations. So it's born out of our love to God's creation, the children of Indonesia. So I was a young mother. I said something about having 2 and 4 year olds when I started to think about YCAP. So I was thinking, is that something else that we can do for the children of nation out of this love? Because for me, it was it was easy, verticality and the horizontals, right? God loved me, I love the world, and YCAP is how I love the world. So the how part, we begin with addressing helping the youth of Indonesia, the young kids of Indonesia, but then now evolve with so many areas that we touch, but we know as development, from the development perspective, we want to work with the uh, economic empowerment, because that's economic arm, education, that's very important, and of course health. But this is all that we started with: health, promoting healthy lifestyle to the young people, helping them not to make any risky decisions in life, risky behaviors. But then we thought, maybe we should start with empowering, the people, the poor of Indonesia economically. So we work with the mothers, we work with their children, giving them education. So pretty much we're in the empowerment business. But when we use the word business, sounds funny. Social enterprise, so it is about enterprising social mission. So that's pretty much the angle that we kind of use the word business, but it's God's kingdom, so it is God's business. Yeah.
For you, a lot of times, what made you start this organization? Like Veronica, when you were younger, what did you think you were going to do? And was there something that happened, an experience or a situation that happened that really caused you to really want to love kids and really want to come
Oh
alongside
boy.
these marginalized
Yeah.
children?
Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor actually, but when I uh, during our high school there was a division, right? You have to take either a physics, a biology. This is the route to go to be a doctor. I didn't like biology, so I was in the physics route towards sciences, and I was like thinking, it was nothing big about my childhood story, but I felt like there's something about doing something for others. So that's actually, I think, the I wouldn't use the word tradition, but it's something that I learned from my own parents, how they are always there, for those in need. And I think that's the thing that they never say it in words, but you kind of felt it, then you grew up with that kind of sense of generosity, that sense of sharing, that sense of helping. And that has been big to me, and then that's when I was having my 26th birthday, and then there was a party, and then this Paroyan di Hutasoit was talking about a meaning and purpose, talking about when you die, exactly how you want to be remembered. That was the trigger point. But that was the whole of my memoir. Talk about how do you want to be remembered. But now I'm thinking about part two of the memoir. Oh yeah, I would rather be remembered by God, forgotten by man but remembered by God. So that probably a different phase of me creating meaning of what we do, what I do in the social enterprise. Yeah. Wow.
For those who may not be familiar, Veronica is referring to her book, Journey to Impact. Veronica, to this day, I value this book, and it just sits right on my desk of the kind words when we had dinner together as well too. In the early days, I think a lot of times is there's always a story behind when we started an organization. Here you are, a mom now, and you probably had never started a yayasan or a nonprofit
No?
before. What were some of the struggles that you had to learn to navigate through in the
Yeah.
early days, as you think through it?
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking at that I was thinking at that point of time, how difficult can that be, right? To give
Yeah.
help to, I don't know, we mobilize a lot of other, like Sembakos, distribution of all this staple food, and then for the poor. How difficult can that be? Yeah, we learned that it's actually a military grade type of effort, that you don't get maybe killed during all this distribution to a few thousand families at some point in Bantar Gebang is the largest of the trash dumping area
Mm.
in Jakarta. That's like the biggest is 10-story high kind of level of trash, and it's crazy. But then I learned a lot about giving. I learned a lot how, and the kind of the size of giving that we should share is not too much. This is exactly biblical, right? It's not too much that people would forget God, and then it's not too little that people would curse God. So you need to know the right size. And of course, when you talk about philanthropic work, we talk about, of course, you know you will brush shoulders with the government. So working through that environment, and with and through the environment, it's not as easy as we think. you know if you have a desire to create a program for kids in school, say maybe computer lab, you thought everybody would just love that program. They love
Yeah,
it, but they're not
yeah.
going to accommodate that. And then I
Uh,
learned about all these fees going on the ground that you have to keep. you know uh, there should be a budget that is allocated for the principals, and then all these people for the it's a mess. It's crazy because I didn't know. We thought with this whole great ideas, people will just open your doors. Not really. They
yeah.
would open maybe one time, but the next time they will ask me, okay, how much am I getting out of this? So not
Mm.
everybody is as pure and helpful, and generous, and then understand the value of what we're trying to give them. It's always that's negotiation, you
Yeah,
know
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then wow, you learn so much. And then at the end of the day, Tommy, what we learn is we can only help those who can help themselves. We can't
Yeah,
help
yeah, yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
We
yeah,
want to save a
yeah.
million, we want to help a million people, but then it's not that easy. It's not that simple, because at the end of the day, what we think they need may not be what they actually need. So we need to talk to the people, ask them, and then based on that we kind of learn what they need, and we just follow what they need. And the way we give is not like boom, giving it all out. It's not, it doesn't work that way. I mean, there's one of the learning that's a huge learning during tsunami. After the tsunami, we work with Prince Albert from Monaco, uh, Asia. Is it Monaco Asia Society? We rebuilt, actually, Nias. We rebuilt the entire village of 250 houses. We replaced they were living on the coastal line. So we acquire a piece of land on the bit of a hill. So they got new land, new house, new everything. But oh boy, yeah, there was a struggle of the whole development, and then Prince Albert himself came to appreciate it, and there was a whole drama, you know, uh, trying to prepare, the people, and then just sometimes it's very hard that this is exactly what the Bible, the lepers, the 10 lepers
Yeah.
got healed, only one actually came back. In
Hmm.
our, yeah, in our experience, not even one, maybe half, maybe one third would actually say thank you or be grateful in the way that we. So I learned that giving is not horizontal. If we are expecting them to behave the way that we want them to behave, you get disappointed. But what is important is that you have fulfilled what you are here to do for God's glory. It's vertical. It's between you and God. It's a worship, right? Whatever happened in the horizontals, the recipient and you, it doesn't matter. They say thank you, great. They don't. They walk away. So what? We're still doing what we are called to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah, yeah.
not about them. Yeah, it's not about us too. It's about doing things that will glorify God.
And one of the key things, Veronica, is a lot of times leadership takes time. Lessons take time. Here you are 26 years later. You could look back at some of your lessons and say, it took us a while. It took us 5, sometimes 10 years. And even now, we're still learning some of those lessons because you're trying to figure out who do we help? How much do we help? What's our response? When is it appropriate to help? What's the extent? Because you can't help everyone. Even Jesus, there are so many people who just needed helping. Eventually, he had to walk away, but it takes time to figure all these things out.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true. I think I did mention earlier that pandemic, because of the pandemic, we actually rewrote some of our programs. It really brings clarity to us, the kind of work that we can do for what kind of people, right? In how to reach them, what is the most effective way, and then what's the most not only effective but efficient, because we are accountable to our donors also. I mean, we work with donors money, we work with family money, we work with our own company. So it's a social enterprise, so we have a foundations, we have a group of company that supports, with their profit, so all kinds of money. So but we are accountable to our donors especially, and of course to our business partners, right? uh, we're responsible to ourselves. That the money that we spend, the time that we spend doing it, it should be worthwhile. So the pandemic gives clarity. So we're grateful in a weird way that because of it, we actually scrape some of our programs. It kind of felt like at some point it was me has been the one. I kind of already know before the pandemic that we need to scrape it out. You have to just integrate and focus in what we're doing best, right? But then it felt sometimes, oh, I want to keep it, but it's dragging. And then this is the example of our Rumah Belajar, which is the community school. This is the school for those who already drop out of school and to get, accelerated studies and then vocationals and whatnot. So these schools at the height, we have 77 schools running throughout Indonesia, but then it's not effective because we need to have 100 students at all times to make the cost per head effective, right? Efficient. But then it's so hard to get 100 kids at all times because in the radius of 5 kilometers, sometimes there are no more kids. So and we're talking about poor kids who can only walk or take, bicycle, don't have to spend a lot of money or a lot of time in the traffic, right? So it's a different kind of a mindset. It's not like private school that will be there forever, 100 years. People will just come with their cars. It's not like that. So yeah, it was me that was not ready to feel like a failure when we have to cut it out. When we closed down the Rumah Belajar, it felt for a minute like, oh my God. I feel very sad because it was like a baby to me. That was the first Rumah Belajar we opened in 2003. It took us 20 years, 22 years to then, okay, this is it. We have to cut it out,
Yeah,
cut it out,
yeah,
cut
yeah,
it out,
yeah,
cut
yeah,
it out.
yeah.
And then it felt like a failure to some extent, but it's for the best. It's for the best of everyone. So then
Well,
we kind of migrated the model into scholarship, which is a lot more, in a way, agile and effective, efficient. It's easier to manage. And yeah, the integration between the empowerment of the mothers and their children going to higher education, this is what we want to focus on in the next we've been doing that in the last, probably since COVID, so the last 5 years now, 4 years. Then moving forward, we want to strengthen that bond because that's where the impact can be measured. It's very important to us that we can measure the impact from whatever angle, quantitatively, qualitatively, from the what the Stanford, like they call it SROI. Sorry, I'm gonna turn on the AC. It's a bit warm. Um, Yeah, so that's pretty much the journey.
Well, one of the things that I noticed, even in terms of your word, is a lot of times you had to do what was best. And uh, oh no, and as a leader, Veronica, sometimes you're going to have to. And as a leader, Veronica, would you say sometimes you have to make decisions that is best for the organization and for the people, which you may not want, or it may not make a lot of people happy. You may have to cut programs, you may have to cut jobs or different roles, but you got to do what's best for the organization. And as a leader, you're going to have to make tough
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
How have you had to learn? I mean, what lessons would you say to these young people? Sometimes it's easy for us to avoid conflict, for people to like us, to be the popular person, but that's not our job as a leader. What's your advice for people who have to make tough decisions?
Whew, it's tough. What's tough is tough, but I think you have to look at from the 360s, have the bird eye view, and then be honest. Be honest about everything from every single perspective. Like, is it worthwhile financially? Is it, really creating the lasting impact that you want to see? You can't lie to everyone, or you can't lie to yourself. uh you know so we have to weigh it in, and then there should be, uh it took me a long time, Tommy, so I'm not the best person to answer this, because I know the pain. I know, I mean, especially when this is your baby, when this is your brainchild, when this is your idea, and then you have to kill it. It's tough, it's hard, but then you just have to. It takes a crisis. I would say a pandemic is the crisis that gives that clarity to you, that okay, this is it. You can't move in, you can't move on anymore, you can't do any longer. This model is not even relevant. You kind of know inside of you, but then you kind of make it into action. Now it took me a couple of years to really want to do it, and then yeah, how to just tough it up, like, it's not easy, but you have to take care of your heart, but you have to be ready, I guess, mentally, and you have to kill it. Like, this is plugging, to plug out the oxygen in your breathing child, really, at to that point. I felt sad, but you need to do what you need to do. At the end of the
Well,
day,
Veronica,
yeah,
I think even as I'm hearing you talk, I think about Resource Global. Resource Global is my baby. It's the group that I started, similar
yeah,
to you a lot of times. And we're only been around for 10 years compared to your 26 years. There are ideas that I have that I don't want to give up. And then I have to surround myself with a team of people who aren't tied into these ideas, but they're experts at growing an organization. And I have to trust that they're going to help me make the best decision for the
yeah,
organization.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All these voices you've heard, but if you're the ultimate decision maker, uh you have the veto. Pretty much. I mean, it's your idea, it's your baby, it's your money, especially. Nobody can push you to the limit. It's not like I have another partner that putting in their skin into the game, right? It's pretty much
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's harder. But
yeah,
if you have a partner
yeah.
that putting the same dollar into the table, they could push you, and you would be like, okay, thank you for pushing me. But at that point, it was just me. I'm just waiting for me to push myself enough, and it took a crisis like a pandemic to give that clarity. But I'm thinking to myself, why was I so like hard? Maybe God hardened my heart up to that moment, than just to give us a kind of a different, sort of like a different runway to,
Mm.
after the pandemic, you kind of landed somewhere, and then now you're flying higher and stronger with a different. Well, I had my theory of change, that model of change, since 12 years ago, but I wasn't ready to really integrate, leave everything else, and then just integrate, just focus on that. I could have, but I didn't, because, oh, I felt terrible. Oh, this is kind of, we cannot. hold on to that. We can still do this. A lot of effort, a lot of money putting in for something that is not last. It just
Yeah,
doesn't last. So
yeah, 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 yeah,
when you
yeah,
look back, it's
yeah.
easier to say all these things, but when you are here to make decision, looking at the future, you kind of felt like I might well, you could actually go wrong too, cutting this out and then killing this out. You might, but then thank God we were actually in the better track, and we felt a lot more effective, efficient, and for that I feel more accountable, even to myself and to God, to do everything that we do, and we know we're doing it to the best of our ability. um, you know we can measure impact, we can measure every dollar, and that's important, because yeah, it's not just to donors, but it's more importantly to us, the management, to stand true to what we believe. Yeah, and be honest with the impact that we created. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Veronica, how big is the team? How big is the team that you've assembled
The
at YCAP?
foundation now is around 55 or
Got it.
56. Yeah, the
Very, very good.
foundation. But
Yep.
on the venture side, so we have two structures, right? The foundation owns the ventures, YCAP
Yeah.
Ventures. So
Uh-huh.
the ventures runs three things: the financing, the microfinance. This is to empower the mothers economically, and we do the investment. So investment is divided into two: direct investment to businesses that supports, of course, the mission of YCAP, and then we created investments through funds. This is a women
Mm.
fund, which is investment in the women-led women services business. That was with DFAT, so that's Australian aid agency, like USAID, but this is Australian. So we created a fund, so investing in uh, companies that has impact, and then of course align with the mission and the financing part. So this is the business, you know part of YCAP. Then this is what the social enterprise looks like. The business supports the mission. So it's that simple.
Very
So
good.
yeah, we do the two structure kind. What was the question again? Yours. I
No,
was
I
diverted.
reckon
Huh?
no, I initially asked you how big your organization is,
Oh
but
yeah,
I
yeah,
reckon
okay. So
you went with it.
under the ventures, we have about almost 200 people.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
this is the one running the financing part, the microfinance part, and then the investment and all that. Yeah, almost 200, but 180 or not 190. So together about 240.
And
Yeah.
I would probably say, Veronica, a lot of times one day I would love to talk with you more about that because it's the two ventures that I love because it's such a creative, innovative way to support what you're doing with the foundation. I just love what you're doing there. Was that your idea as well, too?
Well, you know what? We've been doing day one when we started the foundation in 1999. That was August. I think year 2000, April, we started our first company, because we thought that, okay, we as a family, we wanted to just put aside $50,000, right? 50,000 to do whatever. But then we got a lot of demands, from schools wanting our program. So we thought, okay, we need more money. But I didn't know anything about CSR. I didn't know about
Yeah,
partnership. I know nothing about it. So I thought, okay, coming out from an entrepreneurial family, I thought like, hey, let's start something. Let's start a business so I can use the profit to support the mission, right? And I thought, so there was no name. I didn't know what I was doing until fast forward 2009. I was intrigued by a program under INSEAD, a business school, social entrepreneurship program. So I was like, what is this thing? So I joined the program 2009, and then, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm doing. And they
yeah,
call it a social enterprise. And I
yeah,
thought, this is fun. So there's a name to what I was already doing, like 10 years, for 10 years before I joined the program. Then, so yeah, so that was a social enterprise kind of, what's that, approach, right? But then only 2005, so that's 5 years into doing what we're doing. uh, Unilever came and approached us and offered us a CSR. And I thought, there's a CSR? What is that? Oh, yeah, companies do have to put aside social la 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 la. And then I thought, that's fun. So we started the working with multinationals since 2005. We never had any fundraising night until 2010. That's our 11th year or 10th year,
Yeah,
end of
yeah,
our 10th year. And then we just did it once. I didn't like it. And then we started to raise capital from the businesses, from the profits. Then tell me what happened in the last 1 year. We've been raising capital from capital market, and this is
yeah,
funner.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we issued mutual funds, and we raised the well, we wanted to build the asset under management up to 20 million, 30 million. Now we are a quarter, one third of the way of raising that, and then with that you get free money to between 1 to 5% depending on the performance of the fund, uh, to support the mission of YCAP. So we raise all kinds of money out there, but I think the you asked me the proudest achievement. Maybe I fast forward everything, but then raising capital, for social good from the capital market is the next big thing that will happen. And I think this is workable in any economy, in any markets. And this is what we're doing in Indonesia can be actually an example for
Yeah,
even
yeah,
you to
yeah.
raise capital, what we call it, social bonds and whatnot. There's all names everywhere in every market. But in our case, it's a mutual fund. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Veronica, a lot of times there's so much we could talk about because even with this particular one, I love to do a separate class, seminar, all of this stuff. Because the one thing I've inspired, even when we sat through dinner during that earthquake, if you remember that day when we had that
Yeah.
earthquake at
Yeah.
night, and we're sitting there, I was so inspired by your journey, lessons learned, and it just was an encouragement of how a mom just wanted to do something to make a difference. And here we are now, 26 years later, with all your different ideas. And who would have thought everything wasn't perfect? It didn't go as smoothly as you wanted, but it
Yeah.
was, let me learn from this lesson. Let me pivot and change this up, all of those things, which I love.
But can I close by saying this? If you are actually, faithful, the little things that you do, we started with 50,000 US dollar, right? Day
Yeah.
one. We have grown to like $10 million kind of organization. So you've grown if you are just faithful in your calling. You start small, but God will grow it, grow it. And that's something that I think is fascinating. Even myself, looking back, the kind of small what commitment, the small desire to put aside this amount of money for humanitarian work, so it kind of grew into a sustainable business, today. So that's something. I mean, yeah, the number probably does not sound great big in the US dollar, but for rupiah in Indonesia, yeah, we've grown from 500 million to like 100, yeah, billion kind of
Love it. Love it.
operation in
Love
terms
it.
of
Love it.
economic and the empowerment through education. Yeah.
Well, Veronica, we're going to have to do more of this in the future, and a lot of times is I hope that the Resource Global family will continue to really be able to learn from you because they're going to be hearing from you a lot. There's so many different ideas I'd love for you to speak to. So, thank you so much for finding some time to talk today, Veronica.
Thank you for having me, Tommy. So I hope it will, be useful for our young, listeners, or this is listeners or watchers, viewers, yeah, followers. So yeah, I hope it will help them to some extent if they're
Thank you so
struggling or
much.
they're looking for answers and making that tough decisions.
Yeah, we're going to talk soon. Thank you.
Bye.